In the dim glow of a forgotten Virginia attic, a dusty, reel-to-reel tape spins silently, capturing the voice of a man who claimed to pierce the veil between worlds. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, whispers revelations from 1938, transcripts long buried by skeptics and guardians of the status quo, fearing their challenge to our understanding of death and the soul's eternal journey. What if these suppressed sessions hold the key to why we suffer, why we love, and what awaits beyond the grave? Born in 1877 in rural Kentucky, Edgar Cayce rose from humble beginnings as a Sunday school teacher to become one of the 20th century's most enigmatic figures. A reluctant psychic whose readings were conducted in deep trance states, eyes closed, body limp, as if channeling from an invisible realm. Over nearly 4 decades, he delivered more than 14,000 documented sessions on health, history, and the mysteries of existence, but a select archive of his deepest probes into reincarnation and the afterlife was sealed away. Why? Because they unraveled the illusion of random fate, suggesting our lives are deliberate scripts written by the soul itself, knowledge deemed too disruptive for a world clinging to material explanations. These hidden transcripts, rediscovered only in recent decades from the Association for Research and Enlightenment's vaults, reveal Cayce's visions of consciousness as an immortal force, unbound by death, navigating cycles of birth and rebirth for profound evolution. Fade to the ethereal haze of Cayce's trance. In these forbidden recordings, he describes the soul not as a fleeting spark, but as a timeless voyager, hovering in the borderlands of the afterlife before incarnation. No accidents, no cosmic dice rolls. Every choice of family, every twist of circumstance is a calculated descent into the human drama. Cayce's altered states unveiled the Akashic Records, an astral library, where souls review past lives like chapters in an endless book. Here, the essence selects parents not for ease, but for the raw friction needed to forge growth. A soul scarred by abandonment in one era might enter a fractured home in the next, not as retribution, but to embody the ache it once inflicted, transforming pain into empathy. These revelations, whispered in his sleep, painted death not as an end, but a luminous threshold, a momentary pause where consciousness sheds the body's weight, reviewing incarnations with crystalline clarity before plotting the next act. As the tape hums onward, Cayce's words deepen the shadows of our own psyches, pulling us into the psychological labyrinth of why we endure. Imagine the soul in its pre-birth vigil, weighing options like a strategist in the void, a nurturing hearth to reward prior compassion, or a storm of betrayals to temper unresolved debts. He envisioned karmic threads weaving through generations, fathers as anchors of discipline, mothers as portals of unconditional flow, each relationship a mirror reflecting the soul's hidden fractures. In one suppressed session from 1925, Cayce probed a family's turmoil, revealing how a child's rebellion echoed an ancestor's unspoken grief from centuries past. This isn't mere fate, it's conscious architecture. Death, in his view, dissolves the illusion of separation, unveiling how our earthly struggles echo across lifetimes, urging the spirit toward unity. Yet the intrigue mounts. Why suppress these insights? Perhaps because they demand we confront our lives as self-authored quests, where comfort is the enemy of enlightenment and every hardship a deliberate brush stroke on the canvas of the divine. Transitioning from the echo of Cayce's voice to the vast unknown, consider this unspoken extension of his visions. After death, consciousness doesn't merely linger, it fragments into a council of selves, debating the soul's next veil crossing, where echoes of unlived potentials whisper possibilities, binding the individual to the collective dream of creation. And so, as the reel clicks to silence, we are left with Cayce's haunting echo. If the soul scripts its own shadows before birth, what untapped light might you be chasing through yours? And will you recognize it when death calls you home? In the shadowed vaults of a forgotten Virginia archive, a reel of crackling audio lies buried, suppressed for decades, labeled simply Cayce Trance, Forbidden Echoes. Recorded in the 1930s during one of Edgar Cayce's deepest prophetic states, this lost transcript whispers revelations that challenge the veil between lives, souls scripting their own, torments before birth, families as karmic crucibles, and the hidden mechanics of reincarnation. Why was it sealed away? To protect a truth too disruptive for the waking world, one that blurs the line between fate and free will, death, and eternal becoming. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet of the early 20th century, was no ordinary seer. Born in 1877 in rural Kentucky, he discovered his gift as a young man, slipping into hypnotic trances to diagnose illnesses, unearth lost civilizations, and pierce the mysteries of the soul. From 1901 until his death in 1945, Cayce delivered over 14,000 readings, often while unconscious, channeling insights from what he called the Akashic Records, an ethereal library of all human experience. Yet amid his vast catalog, certain sessions were hushed, their transcripts locked in private collections, or dismissed as too esoteric. These overlooked gems, emerging now from dusty obscurity, reveal Cayce's most intimate visions of the afterlife. Not a distant paradise, but a deliberate architecture of growth through suffering where consciousness orchestrates its own rebirths. Hidden not by malice, but by the aerosphere of anything that upended religious dogma or scientific certainty, these suppressed interviews paint Cayce as a bridge to forbidden knowledge, urging us to question if our lives are accidents or ancient pacts. At the heart of these concealed revelations pulses a profound core truth. The soul, in Cayce's trance-induced visions, arrives on earth not as a blank slate, but as an architect of its destiny. Before incarnation, he described, the soul convenes in a luminous council with spiritual guides, ethereal mentors, reviewing past lives like faded scrolls. There, amid swirling visions of unresolved conflicts and untapped potentials, the soul maps its journey, selecting kin, forging trials, and weaving the threads of karma into a tapestry of transformation. No random lottery of birth, but a voluntary descent into density. Families in this hidden schema become the soul's chosen arena, echoes of ancient bonds resurfacing to demand resolution. Imagine a soul, weary from cycles of vendetta, electing to re-enter as the child of its former foe, not for revenge but to transmute enmity into empathy. Cayce's altered states unveiled this as the soul's grand strategy, breaking chains of trauma that span lifetimes, where a lineage of silenced pain finds its healer in the one who feels utterly alien from the start. As the audio fades in these suppressed reels, the camera lingers on flickering shadows, transitioning from the council's glow to the stark realities of earthly bonds. Cayce deepened this vision with psychological layers, probing the existential weight of such premeditated strife. In his prophetic haze, he explored how consciousness navigates death's threshold, not as oblivion, but as a reflective interlude where the soul sheds its mortal husk, confronting the echoes of its choices. Difficult families, he intimated, forge this inner resilience, The soul selects them to shatter illusions of separation, awakening a profound awareness that pain is the forge of enlightenment. Why endure the mockery of sensitivity, the chill of misunderstanding? Because, in Cayce's words, reconstructed from the trance, these are the crucibles where the personality dissolves, revealing the soul's unyielding quest for wholeness. It's a philosophical riddle wrapped in intrigue. If consciousness predestines its wounds, does free will merely dance within predetermined rhythms? Cayce's insights stir a tension that haunts the mind, prompting us to peer into our own fractured relations, wondering if that estranged sibling or unyielding parent is a mirror of unresolved eternities. Yet these forbidden transcripts hint at even wilder depths, expansions that Cayce only grazed in his most unguarded moments. He spoke of souls as, quote, three, those service-oriented essences who incarnate into shadowed homes not for personal ascent, but to illuminate others, sacrificing ease to shift the familial ether through quiet acts of compassion. Talents emerge as soul-mandated sparks, illnesses as catalysts for revelation, crises as awakenings. And in karmic knots, souls entwine repeatedly, a past life teacher reborn as kin, demanding fresh lessons in humility or forgiveness. But beyond the veil of these earthly dramas, Cayce's visions touch the psychological undercurrents of death itself, how the ego clings to validation, while the soul, unbound, seeks only the raw alchemy of experience. Drawing from the thematic currents of his Akashic glimpses, one speculative reflection emerges unspoken in the original reels, but aligned with Cayce's cosmic lens. Upon death, consciousness might not merely review its earthly script, but dissolve into a collective dream state where individual souls merge briefly with the universal mind, tasting infinity before splintering back into form, forever altered by that momentary oneness, urging faster evolution in the next incarnation. As the tape whirs to its enigmatic close, Cayce's voice, reconstructed from the ether, lingers like a half-remembered dream. The soul fears not the end, but the unlived path. In this suppressed archive, we confront the ultimate intrigue. If our families are soul-forged puzzles, what hidden revelations await when we finally decode our own? In the shadowed vaults of forgotten archives, a tape long buried in the Edgar Cayce Foundation's restricted collection surfaces. A 1940s recording, suppressed for decades amid whispers of heresy. Here, the quote five himself, in a trance state that blurred the veil between worlds, unveils forbidden insights into the soul's eternal wanderings, challenging the very foundations of family, fate, and the afterlife. This is no ordinary revelation. It's a lost transcript from Cayce's final years, hidden to protect a vision too radical for a world bound by linear time. Edgar Cayce, born in 1877 in rural Kentucky, emerged as one of history's most enigmatic psychics, channeling over 14,000 readings between 1901 and 1945, while in self-induced hypnotic trances. A devout Christian turned reluctant seer, he diagnosed ailments, foretold events, and pierced the mysteries of reincarnation. Ideas that clashed with mainstream theology and drew scrutiny from skeptics and authorities alike. Why was this particular session, recorded just before his death in 1945, sealed away? Insiders suggest it delved too deeply into the mechanics of soul selection, threatening to upend societal norms about bloodlines and destiny. Overlooked in the chaos of post-war censorship and the Foundation's selective releases, it lay dormant until now. A relic of suppressed wisdom echoing Cayce's lifelong battle with visions that came unbidden, pulling him into altered states where past lives flickered like half-remembered dreams. At the heart of this hidden transcript lies Cayce's core revelation, the soul's deliberate orchestration of familial bonds across incarnations, a cosmic choreography defying chance or biology. In his trance, Cayce described how a spirit, burdened by unresolved karma from a prior existence, might select its next earthly vessel not by accident, but as a deliberate reversal of roles, to experience the pain it once inflicted, forging empathy from the forge of suffering. Picture a tyrannical patriarch reborn as the child of his former victim, navigating the sting of authority's whip to unravel the threads of cruelty woven in forgotten ages. Lovers entangled in possessive passion could re-emerge as siblings, their bond purified into a selfless kinship, stripped of desire's shadows. No family gathering, Cayce insisted, unfolds without purpose. Even the most fractious ties, those aunts and uncles who grate like sand in the soul's eye, or parents whose flaws scar the heart, are masterful teachers in disguise, not to shatter us, but to excavate hidden reservoirs of resilience, mercy, and self-worth. Fade to the dim glow of Cayce's Virginia Beach study, where the air hummed with the echo of his entranced voice as he expanded this vision into profound psychological depths. These connections, he revealed, stir existential tremors, forcing us to confront the illusion of isolated lives. Death, in Cayce's eyes, is no abrupt severance, but a luminous threshold, a momentary dissolution of the ego's frail shell, where consciousness expands into the Akashic records, that vast ethereal library chronicling every soul's odyssey. In this altered state, free from the body's chains, we glimpse the hidden truths of our origins. Why this lineage of joys and jagged edges? It's the soul's pre-birth contract, a pact forged in the interlife's boundless light, choosing kin not for ease, but for evolution. A spiritually attuned essence might descend into a household of skeptics, igniting faith's spark through adversity. Conversely, a once dominant spirit could opt for destitution's cradle, learning surrender where power once reigned unchecked. Cayce's words, captured in the transcript's crackling audio, carry a chilling urgency. Every family mirror reflects not flesh, but the soul's unvarnished gaze. Debts repaid, lessons etched in eternity's ink. Yet as the recording delves deeper, an undercurrent of psychological intrigue builds, laced with the tension of forbidden knowledge. Cayce, haunted by his own visions of death's proximity during health crises, portrayed these soul pacts as bridges over the abyss of separation, anxiety that plagues the living. Consciousness, he posited, persists as an indestructible flame flickering through veils of forgetfulness to reunite with old allies in new guises. The psyche, fractured by earthly amnesia, yearns for these reunions, manifesting as inexplicable affinities or buried resentments, psychological echoes of ancient accords. To embrace this is to dissolve the victim's lament, transforming _quote_7_ into a clarion call for wisdom amid woe. Pain's veil lifts, revealing not random cruelty, but orchestrated growth. We cease viewing parents as mere progenitors and see them as fellow pilgrims, their flaws, the very curriculum our souls enrolled in. In this light, forgiveness blooms not as weakness but as reclamation, releasing the self from karmic anchors, awakening a profound inner sovereignty. Cayce's trance state fervor underscores the peril. Ignore these truths, and we wander blindly, ensnared in cycles of retribution. Heed them, and death's shadow recedes, unveiling life's tapestry as a deliberate weave. Now, emerging from the transcript's core, a speculative layer Cayce hinted at, but never fully articulated in surviving records. In the vast silence following physical death, consciousness may not merely review past incarnations, but actively co-create future ones, drawing ethereal blueprints of familial constellations from the collective unconscious. Imagine the soul, untethered in that post-mortem expanse, consulting with spirit guides to sketch alliances that test the boundaries of love, pushing toward a unity where individual egos dissolve into a harmonious whole, hinting at humanity's evolution, beyond separation toward a telepathic kinship unbound by blood or time. As the tape's final grooves wind down, Cayce's voice fades into prophetic hush, leaving us suspended in the mystery. If our families are eternal echoes of chosen souls, what undiscovered pacts from beyond the grave still shape your path? And will you dare to remember them before the next veil falls?